Hi, I'm Pete Holloway. I'm a retired financial advisor and a retired certified financial planner. And as always, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to On Money. The last show was about Grow Ohio Valley, and it was so fascinating that we've decided to have a second show, a second part to it. My guest today is Vince DeGeorge, a Morgantown native. He attended or graduated from University High School, got his undergraduate degree from John Carroll in Cleveland in physics and math, and his PhD from Carnegie Mellon in material sciences and engineering. With that kind of background, he went directly to Northrop Grumman, where he was in research and development, and he's been the director of operations here in Wheeling of Grow Ohio Valley since 2018. I want to thank you for being here, and thank you for being in the Valley.
My pleasure, Pete.
Okay, last time we talked about a few things, and I want to recap a little about what we talked about very briefly. Tell us about why Grow Ohio Valley was founded, and then what's a food hub? Why is that important? Because that's your baby.
You bet, Pete. Thanks so much. Yeah, Grow Ohio Valley started in 2014, as Jason and Danny shared last time, as a local food nonprofit, really trying to build the local food economy here in Wheeling, both for the economic and community improvement benefits. So we've been doing that. We have 4 urban farm sites. We have a rural farm site up Big Wheeling Creek. We have the public market.
Excuse me, when you say urban farm sites, they're actually located physically within the city of Wheeling?
Yeah.
Give us an example where one or a couple might be.
Up on Vineyard Hill, we have the Meadow, we call it. We have 2 big high tunnel greenhouses. We have a 300-ish tree apple orchard. We have some, we call them our starter greenhouses, seed greenhouses, built on the foundation of old houses. And then under the interstate, we have Farm 18, we call it, on 18th Street, our first urban farm site.
Okay, didn't mean to interrupt you, so.
That's fine. And then we have our flagship market, the public market downtown, started in 2019. And then, yeah, we have some startup projects. The Wheeling Food Hub being the one that we want to talk about today. All-inclusive shared commercial kitchen space, a local food business incubator, if you will, that local farmers or food businesses could use to bring their products in, whether it's carrots from the farm or a dish from the restaurant, and process, maybe chop, maybe freeze, and then brand and label so that they can be sold either on grocery store shelves across the valley or serve in cafeterias for hospitals or schools, but to really reach that next level of food business that it's normally very hard for small food businesses to access.
Yeah, it's fun to go into the public market because people seem to always be coming in with boxes filled with the carrots, potatoes, and all those things. And that's darn fresh because they're probably just a couple hours from being
That's right.
picked.
Yep, that's right.
And the other thing that was neat that you're talking about was the word emphasizing local. So our farmers are deriving an economic benefit from this. And it may not be a big farm, but they're making little money for their product.
That's absolutely right, Pete. One of Grow Ohio Valley's dual points of our mission is to support local farmers, to grow that sector. And normally in the produce retail operation, the retailer, who's normally not locally owned, keeps the better part of that dollar. 80-90% of that dollar at the sale goes to the retailer, and the farmer takes home 10-20%. It's hard to make a living there. At the public market already, we flip that. The retailer, Grow Ohio Valley, only keeps the 10-20%, and we return the rest of that to the farmer or food business. And that's a real game changer that we're really pleased to offer with the public market. With the Wheeling Food Hub, we hope to do that same step in returning the profits back to the local food business for all the steps in between the farm and the market. Again, all that packaging, distribution, branding, all those steps. They're all crucial steps in the food chain. And again, they're steps that usually small food businesses, there are a lot of barriers of entry that prevent local food businesses from accessing that kind of market.
A couple questions. First of all, I'm a farmer and I'm listening to this. How do I get my goods to you? Do I apply? And what about the health department?
That's great. So right now, if you or any local farmer out there wanted to sell at Grow Ohio Valley in the public market, you can reach out to them. Their contact information is online, and you'll probably end up talking with our vendor manager named Sarah Morgan. Sarah Morgan does a great job reaching out to, oh man, we have as many as 50 to 100 vendors at the
What
public
kind
market.
of radius?
We are probably within 50-ish miles.
But that's still 50 miles, that's all.
You bet, yeah, an hour or so. So, this side of Pittsburgh, this side of Columbus, and then further south in the West Virginia. We are looking to expand that. There are other local food organizations further down the Ohio River that we're looking to connect up with. But yeah, reach out to the public market, let them know what you're growing. She has a great intake process, how much you're growing, when you plan on that product becoming available. And there really is a great process now for helping get local food vendors into the public market.
And again, the health department, we have to talk about that because they're there to not be bad guys, but protect us. And
Keep us safe. The health department's been great, both in the public market and then, for instance, we have the deli there at the public market, so the health department is involved in certifying any kitchen, a restaurant that opens up. And, especially in small farms, the level of certification varies. And yeah, we work with the health department and the West Virginia Department of Agriculture to make sure all the relevant certifications and safety precautions are followed. I tell you, one of the things that West Virginia is great on, Pete, we have very farmer-friendly cottage food laws. So a small farmer is able to sell at a farmer's market with, I'm certainly not no oversight, but in a way that makes those markets accessible to those small farmers. And then, of course, you talk to the West Virginia Department of Ag or the Health Department. As you produce more, there are increasing regulations that we make sure all the farmers are following. So again, if you reach out to Sarah Morgan, they'll go through and just make sure that we're all up to spec on each of the relevant certifications and policies.
Now, the food hub itself, you're talking shopping and all that packaging. Is there an actual site for this yet, or where's it being done?
Yeah, Pete. We're really excited, kind of right in the heart of Grow-High Valley's facilities, which kind of center around East Wheeling, again, the public markets downtown. We have a building, the old Wheeling Cycle Supply Building.
Okay. Been seeing some construction going on.
Some activity, you bet. Hopefully we'll see a lot more. So right on 17th Street, right across from Yon Electric, and we're in that hub of social outreach facilities. Catholic Charities Neighborhood Center is right there, the Lockwood Memorial Chapel, Salvation Army's not far away, Zingenfelder's is down the street.
And the new fire department, I guess.
The new fire department is going in there. There's, I think, a lot of new activity going on that street, and it makes sense. The city has invested in the infrastructural improvements to set that neighborhood up for success. It has a lot of assets going for it. That 17th Street is the widest street in Wheeling because it was the old B&O railroad line.
Train track, right, yeah.
Going down to what is now Northern. The city invested in that, and that's really been a mainstay of that part of the neighborhood. And because that road is so wide, you can get semis and trucks, and they can even turn around on that street. Zingenfelder certainly uses that, and again, that's an infrastructural asset that we plan on using to its full extent at the Wheeling Food Hub building.
Well, that's an exciting project. We're covering a lot of things this morning, and so I'm going to change subject
Sure.
dramatically. Okay, one of the neatest things that I think y'all do is that you bring in AmeriCorps volunteers.
You bet.
These are, everyone's young for me these days, but these are all young kids that are in college and have looked to do something else than just getting a PhD in English or whatever. And so they come to Wheeling. First of all, how do you attract them? And then more importantly, and I normally don't like to talk about myself on these shows, but back when I returned to Wheeling after college, a number of students who had gone to Bethany and then Wheeling College, one of its many iterations, stayed in the area and added to the fabric of this community significantly. Some stayed for a year. Some have stayed their careers. And so, first of all, how do you get them here? And how can you retain these really vibrant young people?
Absolutely, Pete. I think you've hit on one of the, to me, most exciting aspects of Grow-High Valley. I'm from West Virginia, and just from the economics, if you look at the demographics, the past 10 years, the census information came out, and we were one of 3 states with a declining population. The other 2 had like a 0.3 and 0.2 population decrease. West Virginia had a 3.2% population decrease. If I'm, a public figure, that's the only red flag that I want to see. And how do we do that? And in fairness, people are really putting attention into that. How do we retain people? And there's the Ascend program, and there's all these different programs. You mentioned our great universities. I'm really pleased that Ohio Valley has been able to contribute our AmeriCorps program, as you said. The AmeriCorps program, for those who may not be familiar, it's kind of like the Peace Corps.
Peace Corps for the country.
For the U.S., exactly. You can sign up for Peace Corps. I think they want a 2-year stint. You can go as little as 3 months for the AmeriCorps program, up to a year, and you can renew that a few times.
And are they paid, or how does that work? Are they volunteers? Or?
They are volunteers, and like, again, the Peace Corps, they do receive a living stipend. That stipend is set to be in solidarity with the population we're serving, which is great. But it is a good way for anyone, but especially young people, to get into the area, either move here from elsewhere or stay. It's an opportunity, and we do get a lot of AmeriCorps volunteers either from Wheeling or from West Virginia who are looking for opportunities to stay. And
they come from, whether it's Indianapolis
That's right.
or Fresno. And again, have you, I know there's that some have stayed. What are they doing? Are they working just for Grow Ohio Valley? Have they moved on to other areas, or do you know?
Sure, yeah. We are able to hire a good bit of our AmeriCorps. If we look at our staff, I should look at the numbers. It's still most of us started our careers at Grow Ohio Valley as AmeriCorps, which is exciting. We certainly can't hire everyone, but when we're able to, we're happy to do that. And then, yeah, like you said, Pete, a lot of other AmeriCorps, some of them come and they move on, which is fine, but a lot of them do stay and get into other areas of our community. There's a few bakeries who I think more than one of our AmeriCorps have learned how to bake and contribute to that. You know, they'll start going to our churches and get other jobs around, and I think that's great. It's a great opportunity to, again, introduce this area to a new generation and bring in that talent, and like you said, retain that talent in our community. Absolutely essential.
We tape this at the Highlands, and there's a sign up here you see a lot, which is Help Wanted. If there are employers out there that might be interested in finding someone, could they just call you and say, do you have someone like this, or someone that we graduating, whatever it would be?
Sure. Yeah, we'd be happy to
I know
pass
you're not
on
a
job
job
opportunities.
I know you're not a job service, but
But we're happy to help out everywhere we can, absolutely.
okay. Again, change of subject. You'd mentioned earlier that this is, as people are aware, it's principally in East Wheeling. What are some of the plans? You mentioned the gardens. What other things will be going on in the East Wheeling area?
A lot, it seems like. You mentioned the Wheeling Fire Department going in right on the south end of 16th Street.
Right.
So that's exciting. We have our food hub. I believe the Laughlin Memorial Chapel is looking to put a playground in the green space right there on 16th Street. So that's really exciting, and the Laughlin Chapel has been a terrific partner. There's on Vineyard Hill, there's some development projects, developing a park. This abandoned mine lands grant that I think Jason and Danny touched on a little bit.
You're putting in trails and those kinds of things?
Trails, and really opening up Vineyard Hill as trail access and just access to nature, so that the citizens of downtown can get some green, just a little walk up the hill. We'll shout out to Reddick, the Men of Change, and Reddick is kind of the development arm of that, are looking at some exciting things. And most recently, just earlier this week actually, City Council passed a resolution to do a planning study for Clay School. You know, a few years ago, the city built that 16th Street field. And now there's that Clay School right next to there. And the question is, what are we going to do with it? And is it a tear down or is it a renovation? And I think they're doing a smart thing by doing a planning study with the developer to see what they're going to do with that. And I think the group connected to the 14th Street redevelopment block, 14th Street block, 1400 block, I should say, is looking into that. So a lot of exciting things, and that's all East Wheeling and downtown. Then you go into the streetscape project, and I mean, we're already seeing it with the interstate construction, but Wheeling really is getting a facelift, so to speak.
Yeah, I know right now it looks like France after the First World War, but it it will get better.
That's
You
right.
just have to be patient.
And we should certainly mention the CVB's new visitor center, welcome center, if you will. That would be a great, if you haven't had them on already.
Yeah, someone on Facebook pointed out that there is a new building on every block. There's something going on in every block. So, and again, it looks awful, but just take a deep breath and wait it out.
That's right.
So, okay, I want to get back to, this is a money show.
Sure.
Using the public market and everything as an engine of economic growth for our area. And everyone thinks, well, economic growth, we should have a Google office or something like that. Well, there are other ways to do that
Absolutely.
that might be better fitted to our area, too.
Yeah, absolutely, Pete. And this is where I like pointing out a report that the Appalachian Regional Commission put out just last year, 2022. And the Appalachian Regional Commission has been around for a long time, maybe even pre-60s, but at least by the 60s, really looking at the economic distress of many Appalachian counties, saying, all right, how do we address this? And they came out with this great report last year looking at specifically how the local food economy can contribute to that vibrant economy of the future that we want to see. And just staying big picture, and then we'll dive in, that report identifies, it's the 5 or so rungs in a ladder, if you will, of a vertically integrated food chain. So from production, farming, to distribution, processing, and then I think the marketing and consuming at the very end. And in the global food system, each one of those steps, if the company doing them is, again, not local, those are instances of money leaving the local economy. Right. We all eat food.
And there's other leakage in that for profit. And I have no trouble with profit. I want to
That's
make
right.
that clear.
That's right.
But there's also taxes. And you're able to get around both those issues.
And what the report identifies is that absolutely, those are things that are going to happen no matter what, because everyone eats. But if we can use a local food system where local businesses are incurring that profit, each one of those instances in the supply chain is an opportunity to keep money circulating in our economy. And that's the beauty of integrating a local food economy into, again, the economic portfolio, if you will, that we want to see going forward. So that's what Grow High Valley is doing. And we have our own production farms, but more importantly, I would say, support the network of local farms. And so that's the bottom end. And then we have the public market and other great sales outlets. Riesbeck's, Kroger's, they have great local food sections at their grocery stores. And hats off to them for, again, supporting local farmers. The next step is filling in the middle steps there, the processing, distribution, the kind of back of house things, if you will. And that's the goal of the Wheeling Food Hub. And again, what Grow High Valley is trying to offer so that local food businesses can take advantage of that full supply chain.
I'm sure our audience can feel your enthusiasm, and it might be infecting them. How would they, if they wanted to, volunteer or maybe even come down and stock the shelves?
Oh, man.
Is that something that I'm sure you're looking for all the help you can
get? Yeah. We have a lot of great volunteer opportunities. And if you go to our website, we have a tab. You can input your information there. And we have a great volunteer coordinator named Chloe Lufchek. And Chloe will reach out. And whether it's helping farm, if you like weeding or harvesting, there's always lots of that to do. If you just want to be out in nature and do more of the trail building, or we have volunteer opportunities up to wazoo. So anyone looking to get involved, feel free to look at our volunteering tab. Again, we also have the AmeriCorps program if someone's looking to get involved for longer term or more regularly.
What's the age range on AmeriCorps? Is there a top?
There's no limit.
You do.
You could do it, Pete. Not to make any assumptions.
I was going to mention that as a retired guy, sometimes my days get a little long.
Okay.
And for retired people, this might be something that they can spend an hour or two and feel that they've really added to the community.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. One other quick question. I'm a gardener.
Great.
I have some raised beds, and
I'd love to see them, Pete.
well, stop by. I also have a groundhog.
Don't we
It's
all?
a beautiful groundhog. It's got sleek fur because it's been eating so well. But anyway, you also will help with local gardeners, and I want to make this clear. Is this just for veggies, or if someone had a flower garden, would the people come in?
This is a great question. Yeah, you're referring to our Backyard Gardeners project, which is a collaboration with Berea College, one of the leading ag schools in Appalachia, and our education team heads that up. And it's an opportunity for someone just like yourself. Maybe this coming or next year, you could put your hat in the ring to support mostly new gardeners who want to grow primarily food of any variety, produce, but herbs or other things as well. Flowers, certainly, we don't mind that.
Not kale.
Oh, right, no kale. So to help new gardeners, and then if any of those gardeners want to start taking the next step to either selling some of that, some of the wares from their garden, and that's a great program. We'll certainly stay tuned for this year. We had a pilot year in 2021, and then last year they had about 30 participants, and we're getting ready for this spring to bring on the new cohort. So that's a really exciting program, Backyard
That's
Gardeners.
great. Well, I want to thank you for your time. We've covered an awful lot today, and people want to stop by. Do you have an office per se, or do you just ask you at the public market? Vince DeGeorge is the name.
Vince DeGeorge at the Public Market. Yeah, that's a great place to find us. At the Public Market, again, it's really our flagship location. Yeah, our offices right now, we have the the building up on the top of Grandview Street. And then stay tuned. We'll see if we have some additional office space coming in spring.
Oh, that's great. That's great to hear. Well, again, I want to thank you. I want to thank you and all the volunteers and the AmeriCorps and so forth for all the good things you're doing for our community.
And thank you, Pete, for everything you're doing.
Well, I appreciate that. And I want to thank the audience. We'll be seeing you next week. I'm Pete Holloway.